You're listening to the Radio Wammo Breakfast, only on Kiwi.
And joining us now to talk politics, it is the leader of the Labour Party, Phil Goff, this morning. Good morning, Phil.
Yeah, good morning, Wammo.
Back from the States as well.
Yeah, sitting in my office in Wellington with the sun coming through the window. That's a nice change from the weekend, but yep, back in harness again now.
Because last time we were last time we were chatting to you, you were about to go and see Helen. How did that go?
Oh, good. Yeah, no, Helen's doing really well over there, as we all would have expected her to do. Got a big job ahead of us, one of the top world positions in the United Nations. And also got really good feedback on the job she's doing from Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary-General of the UN. He's an old colleague of mine. We worked together as in foreign affairs as ministers 5 or 6 years ago. Had 50 minutes with him, but one of the points that he made was that how much he relied on the sort of work that she did as part of his team, and I think that was a great write-up for somebody that we know is a really competent person, will make a big difference in international affairs.
So it's kind of like getting the report card from him, really, wasn't it?
He volunteered that, said how much he appreciated the work that she was doing. I think, to use the experience that she had as 9 years as Prime Minister in a program as important as the United Nations Development Program, I think is really good. But a tough job that she's got there, because with the international recession, of course, that was putting pressure on the amount of assistance that countries were ready to give for development. Yet we know how pressing the problems are. People, kids still dying before the age of 5 for preventable reasons, women dying in childbirth, much of the world struggling with its people living on less than $1 a day. So some big tasks challenges to do there. If we want a stable and secure world, we've got to solve those development problems.
Of course, we've got our own issues here in New Zealand at the moment, and one of the particular ones that have just come up in the past week is these proposed changes to ACC. Now, there's an interesting article in the Herald this morning, and there's nothing like getting perspective from people who were there right in the beginning of when ACC first started. And Sir Owen Woodhouse is like the father of ACC in New Zealand, and he said that the changes that National are proposing are uncaring and predatory, and he says that it goes kind of against the essence of what ACC was set up for back in 1967.
Well, I think Sir Owen Woodhouse is absolutely right. He was the father of the scheme. It's been operating for 35 years, and it's been a brilliant scheme. And the changes that are being proposed to it, in so many areas, are just an absolute nonsense. Last year, the PricewaterhouseCoopers did a report on ACC, and I just read one line out of one summary from the report, showed that the ACC in New Zealand leads in having higher coverage, greater range of benefits, higher benefit levels, lower administration costs, lower premium levels, a lower rate of claims disputes, less delays in resolution of claims, better return to work outcomes, and significantly higher long-term rehabilitation services. I mean, what that basically shows is that the ACC in New Zealand just does so much better than any comparable scheme overseas. I mean, look at the Aussies. They pay, I think the employers are paying $1.96 per $100 on the payroll tax. In New Zealand, the average employer levy here is 94 cents, less than half of that. So why are we trying to gut the ACC scheme at huge cost to people that rely on the services that can be provided when they have an accident?
It's interesting also to read here from Sir Owen Woodhouse. He says that the blowout and losses that led to last week's changes stem from a decision by the last national government in 1998 to allow private sector competition for accident insurance, which required transforming ACC onto the same funded basis as private insurers. So there was a shift in philosophy about what the fund is about, right?
Yeah, Owen Woodhouse makes the point that he saw this as pretty much part of our system of social security rather than an insurance scheme.
Well, did you agree with that?
I agree in part. What I don't agree with is that we don't need to make provision for the future. Although it's ironic, the government stops pre-funding superannuation and says it'll all be okay, and on accident compensation it says, oh no, we've got to pre-fund it, otherwise this will grow totally out of control and we won't be able to afford afford it. Hey, well, what's the difference? You know, I believe that we should move to pre-funding. We don't need to move quite on the track that it's on at the moment, and we can cut down, for example, the increase in motor registration fees from $130 down to $30, and that's an answer from Nick Smith in the House last week, by just extending out the time that we fully pre-fund it from 2014 to 2019. But I tell you what's really dumb on this Wammo is some of the cuts they're making. They've got a program that was started up by Otago University for accident prevention, and it deals with helping older people not to have falls. Falls that constitute 27% of all hospital admissions for people in that age group. The program has been an enormous success. It's cut the rate of falls by 35%,
right,
saving tens of millions of dollars. What do? They say, we can't afford this program, we're going to slash it. Come on. You know, this is a program that doesn't cost money, it saves money, yet they're abolishing it. That just shows the sort of short-sighted, shallow, and really dumb thinking that's going on in the government circles at the moment about ACC. What
about the different levies and different rates levied upon different industries and different kind of vehicles as well? Because we're seeing, of course, this proposed increase for motorcyclists, but also perhaps proposals for increases for people who work in riskier industries. Sir Owen said that in 1967, the report that he proposed a single flat rate levy on all employers and another flat rate on motorists on the basis that everyone benefited from the work of people in risky industries, such as, say, aerial top dressing.
Yeah, well, I think there's a large element of common sense in that as well. Some, you know, look, if you sit behind a desk pushing a pen, you might get RSI, but you know, the level of risks that you're facing are going to be a hell of a lot less than if you're working, say, in the farming industry, where the nature of the work you do from day to day is going to involve a higher level of risk of accident. And while, you know, you want to do as much as you can in a preventive sense, you shouldn't just be condemning whole areas, because inherent to those industries is greater risk.
Yeah.
And the motorbike one, I think, is absolutely outrageous. I mean, they're going to double or treble what it costs to ride a moped. You know, so much for encouraging people for energy-efficient transport and reducing congestion on the road. They're going to push up higher CC motorbike levies by, you know, what, $500 or $600?
Yep.
Yet, you know, I've been a bike rider all my life, and I know that the overwhelming majority of accidents, something like 2/3 of accidents involving motorbikes, are not the fault of the biker, but the fault of the cars that don't look out to see what the biker's doing. And I just think that level of increase is way over the top.
And saying that this hasn't been talked about, no one from the government has talked about this, there's also the fact that bikers assist the economy in other ways by having less congestion, less fuel use, carbon, that kind of stuff, and that's not being recognised.
No, I mean the absolute outcome of the government's intentions in this area, or actions in this area, is going to be people turned away from motorbike riding with the extra costs of pollution, of fuel consumption, and of congestion on the roads. And, you know, look, what are they going to do now? Are they going to start looking at rugby and rugby league and saying, oh, high risk of accidents there, we'd better put a levy on, you know, people playing rugby? Of course they're not. There are some things that you do in life that involve greater risks. You always want to try to minimise those risks. Prevention's a hell of a lot better than cure, but they shouldn't be taking draconian action that will actually have some hugely negative effects and load the costs, I think, unfairly on those that are often the victims of other people's misjudgments driving motor vehicles.
And Phil, finally, what about the government this morning has also confirmed that accident victims may have to pay the first $50 or $100 of their costs?
Well, again, that's going to be regressive in terms of the impact on people. If you're on my income, it won't make much difference at all. But if you're on a low income and you desperately need all the support you can get, that's going to put a barrier in the way for you accessing the support that ACC gives.
So you wouldn't support those sorts of changes?
I absolutely wouldn't support that. Look, I'm all in favour of some areas of finding efficiencies, but you've got to look at who it impacts on, how fair it is, and whether it's going to be counterproductive. And on all of those things, I think that we've just seen a shambolic approach by a minister that can't even get the support of another party in Parliament for legislation he was going to introduce under urgency last Thursday night. It's time the Prime Minister did something about the way this particular minister is operating.
Phil Goff, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Wammo. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. See ya. Labour leader Phil Goff there with us. It's now 4 minutes away from 9.